Good afternoon to everybody, and my co-speakers, Mr. Hari and Ravi, and the organizer, Mr. Guna, Tyagarajan, and others involved in this task of conducting this meeting at the appropriate time. The COVID, actually, we from the mankind, the origination of mankind, we are fighting with the nature to make comfort of our life for our food, shelter, and cloth requirements, and further developments and comfort in lifestyle. Ultimately, the nature is the master. Often, like this epidemic and other issues, we are facing these situations. Now, coming to this, adapting to a new world and facing the challenges of the post-COVID-19 business landscape. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought enormous personal, economic, and social damage. The new coronavirus is unpredictable and lethal, and it's like has not been seen in more than a century. Its effects are paradoxical. It has caused a supply shock and demand shock. The WTO organization estimated that about 13 to 35% of world trade will be affected by this, and the Chinese position as a manufacturing hub is going to be affected soon. And one of the Harvard business studies survey reveals that 13 to 32% of merchandise business is going to affected, and 30 to 40% decline in the direct investments, and 40 to 80% drop in international passengers, etc. The pandemic is primarily a public health care problem with immense immediate implications for business and for economic, fiscal, and monetary policy. The health threats could disappear within a matter of months, but they could persist for years also. But this virus is both accelerating powerful existing trends such as automation and inequality, and slamming the brakes on trends that had until very recently possessed tremendous momentum, such as globalization. The scope of the challenges with all the dimensions is as much philosophical and intellectual as it is physical and practical. Simply put, we are wondering how to go about restarting the economy, repairing what was broken, and preparing ourselves to cope up with a host of urgent social, environmental, and demographic and economic troubles. COVID-19 and the economy. First, both the national and corporate level, balance sheets will be tremendously stretched and require a significant shoring up before resources. Second, small business will be even more significantly affected than larger ones by the policy decisions made. The impact will vary across countries because of the very different ways governments are responding to the crisis. Across the world, however, most small businesses do not have the kinds of cash reserves larger companies have. Third, the different sectors of the economy and even individual business within the countries will get differently affected by the crisis. Platform companies, grocery stores, and pharmacies have for the most part done extremely well so far at this crisis, but many others, the airlines, hotels, hospitalities, business, travel, have a largely shut down. Finally, the unemployment has growth in many markets. In the US, more than 30 million people had filed for unemployment by the end of April. The International Labour Organization noted in its April 29 monitor of COVID-19 impacts on the world of work that almost 1.6 billion informal economic workers, representing most vulnerable in the labor market, out of a worldwide total of 2 billion, and the global workforce of 3.3 billion have suffered massive damage to their capacity to earn a living. This figure represents both devastating human cost and additional burden on countries with already growing in fiscal challenges. For business, unemployment will affect the ability of the consumer base to buy goods or service, pay rents, and repay debts. The Global Risk Advisory Board of the World Economic Forum Global Risk Initiative looks beyond the current crisis to the potential challenges and opportunities in the post-COVID-19 world. The closing of the borders and ripping up of international rules will make it ever more difficult to restart trade and travel and extend the lockdown, heightening the anger and anxiety. The crisis has exposed how many people, even in some of the world's richest countries, live in inadequate housing, without resource of cash or food, and face difficulties in accessing the government assistance. One scenario for the post-COVID-19 world has political and economic forces fueling fear and conflict, deepening economic damage, and eviscerating the possibility of growing out of the crisis and exacerbating divisions that our pandemic is already revealing. A better scenario. The world has managed extreme conditions before. Leaders of the 1940s reflected on their failure to cooperate after the First World War, how it drew the world into economic catastrophe, the Great Depression, and conflict. At the Second World War, and resolved to do better, they started planning during the war. So, too, the global leaders must begin to plan post-pandemic cooperation, COVID virus. Three tasks that confronted those leaders have their parallel today. The most immediate is to fight the common enemy, now the virus together. The second is political and geopolitical. Churchill, Roosevelt, Stalin had to fashion a world that could accommodate their own and others' diverse political regimes. The third task is economic reconstruction, had to deal with massive government debts and a broken global trading and investment system. Improving politics. Diverse political regimes must work together in the world after COVID-19. Democracy has been criticized for popularly seeking instead of pursuing technically sound policies. On the other hand, autocracy has been criticized for repression. Now the reconstruction. Economic reconstruction is the third challenge after the Second World War. War-torn countries were desperate to get their economic restarted. Debt has to be written down. Now flows of investment had to be found. The result was a massive reset delivering mass housing, health, employment, and education. In France, those who have lost their jobs in the cities are being encouraged to go to the countryside to help farmers harvest produce. A prolonged global recession tops the list of most feared risks, replacing long-term risks already existing like climate change as a key business threats. Balancing fear and optimism. Sir John Templeton, the British investor, once said, the difference is that this economic crisis is combined with the healthcare crisis and people are scared. The challenge is to return to the new normal to reconcile the natural fears. Now the COVID-19 overview of 7 most likely fallout risks for the world over the next 18 months, coming 1.5 years, is 7 things. Number 1, the prolonged recession of the global economy, surge in bankruptcies, big firms and SMEs, and a wave of industry consolidation. Number 3, failure of industries or sectors in certain countries to properly recover. Number 4, high level of structural unemployment, especially youth. Number 5, tighter restrictions on the cross-border movement of people and goods. Weakening of fiscal position in major economies. Protracted disruption of global supply chain is the 7th one. The mistrust or misuse of technology could have long-lasting effects on society. Technology is enabling the contact-free economy now due to this COVID through applications such as telemedicine, online retail, and social distancing, delivery methods such as click and collect. New business and employment opportunities are being created in these sectors. But a greater dependence on technology has also increased cyber security risks. Now the other things connected with, as COVID continues to disruption in livelihood of many entrepreneurs and small business owners has been threatened. According to a recent Goldman Sachs survey, 50% of business owners that were surveyed said they don't even have the facility or infrastructure to continue the business operation for more than 6 months at least. 5 things has to be now give most important. Number 1, taking action and moving forward. Entrepreneurs find themselves dealing with analysis and paralysis situation. The inability to make decisions. Delaying decisions will only lead to more problems. As Jeff Boss wrote in Forbes article, in the military, it doesn't matter in which directions you choose to move when under a mortar attack, just so long as you move. Decisions are never final for the simple fact that change is inevitable. Break down what you need to do in smaller steps and then attend to issues based on the level of urgency. Once you start taking proactive measures, you will feel more in control and more confident in your ability to navigate oncoming trials and tribulation in the business and trade industry. Number 2, keeping up with the legislation. The business landscape is changing at a rapid pace. It seems like the government releases new regulation that affect business owners almost every day on different governments, different nations. Number 3, finding balance and achieving a healthy mindset. Fear, anxiety, hopelessness. We are all experiencing a lot of intense emotions during these ever-evolving times, and the entrepreneurs are no exception. To make it worse, there is an additional level of stress as they try to do best to their employees and the customers. That is why it is imperative that the entrepreneurs carve out time to change and take care of themselves. Whether that be going for a walk, spending time with your family, or enjoying a long luxurious, the more you are able to find inner calm during this crisis, the better able you are to make decisions and lead your business and tackle the COVID virus situation, crisis, and problems in your trade and industry business angle. Number 4, dealing with information overload. It seems like every minute we are inundated with relentless and flood of information about the COVID and after effect and the impact on the trade and business and the industries. Continuously exposing yourself to upsetting news will only heighten anxiety. Make it a point to check periodically and take decision accordingly to the time and situation connected with your local issues. Number 5, selecting the right focus. Business owners are dealing with a million concerns right now, and it's difficult to know where to prioritize time and resources. One way to choose to consider what is truly important to your business. For most of us, that is our people, employees, customers, vendors, partners. The scale of this crisis is unprecedented, but there is a silver lining. Eventually, we will come out on the other side of this pandemic with greater sense of personal empowerment and increased connections to our community, all of which will be advantage for our business in the future. A post-COVID-19 outlook, the future of supply chain. For months prior, the trade tensions had been mounting due to escalating tariff war between Washington and Beijing. As a result, the change that had already begun towards more flexibility and multi-level sourcing. The multi-level sourcing is the first change that is going to happen because of COVID virus. Over the next 2 years, we can expect to see board of overall of supply chain infrastructure and a new order based on three more key dimensions, from globalization and regionalization to regionalization. The change of globalization to regionalization. Logistics hub will be re-emerged at the regional level to eliminate single source of dependencies like China manufacturing hub and to establish a flexible and adaptable supply chain. Today, large electronic equipment manufacturers source 40% of their parts from China, including sub-assembly. A return to regional supply chain presents an incredibly complex challenge. However, the challenge might be worth taking in the post-COVID world. We have seen the impact of global sourcing in the pharmaceutical industry in Europe, which has imported 80% of active components for its drug supply from China and India. In the post-COVID future, it is entirely expected the European governments would ensure they could draw these supplies from their own region, that is the regionalization. Thus, we could soon see a purposeful shift to a regional sourcing from the global sourcing. This is one of the key changes. The supply chain, the new protagonist and the stress test. In post-COVID-19 world, supply chain stress test will become a new norm. The human dimension is back because of this impact. Manual steering and volume flexibility, the human dimension play a prime role in rebalancing the global economic, social changes and supply chain during this crisis. The Toyota principle of automation, that is, automation means the automation with the human touch, that is mixing both this manual experience, expertise and with the technology. And as unemployment rates rise across the world, healthcare and agriculture industries, as well as grocery stores and other key essential work fields face labor shortage. Amazon announced 1 lakh new roles in fulfillment centers and delivery networks. While in China, the return of quarantined workers to production plants and factories generated relief in the West. Similarly, despite positive effect on efficient e-commerce, the last mile of delivery from distribution counter to doorstep still need a human driver or a drone operator. These are all the different types of changes and challenges going to happen. Challenges we have to face the trade and industry with a strong mindset. For example, the out-of-box ideas and the change, the positive side of this impact and all. New inventions are going to be there. New changes of supply chain methods. New changes of regionalization of sourcing the materials. More and more regionalization, localization is going to happen in the coming days. The new invention like Arvind Mills, a recent news. Arvind Limited, a textile company in India, ties up with Haiku, the Jintex, the Taiwanese company, to introduce Viroblock textile technology in India. According to this technology, Arvind will offer shirting and suiting fabrics, ready-made garments, and face masks in India. In a very short period of time, they will introduce fabrics that will provide best-in-class viral protection and are fashionable at the same time. Executive Director Lalbhai Arvind Limited told the products will be available in 1,000 outlets in India with a claim of such efficacy on COVID virus ineffective by 99.99%. Wearing the shirts will save you from the COVID virus impact and all this. Such a new technology and idea, out-of-box ideas are going to emerge in future. But coming to this situation, as Ratan Tata told, for this year, for the trade, business and community and the industries, the profit or loss, that doesn't matter. The existing itself is a matter. Living itself is a matter. So give priority, that don't bother about all this impact, and this is not a final and this is not the end. Things are going to change. Human brains are going to invent out-of-box ideas, innovative ideas to tackle these situations, because change is inevitable. Change is the only ever remaining factor that will lead to another wave of our resilience is most important things. All the trade and people should have practiced at this critical impact of virus and after effects. I thank Mr. Gunasilan and for others for organizing this meeting to share some of my global thinking, impact and other ideas with you on behalf of the Tamil Chamber of Commerce, which is a 75 years old organization started by the R.K. Shanmugam, the first finance minister of India during Nehru government. We have recently celebrated 75th year and we went we came to Malaysia also, interact with Gopio people for joint ventures and other things. Now the opportunities between India and particularly in the state of Tamil Nadu, we are having so much of opportunity for the shift in the very big multinational companies for exit from China, and they are looking for venues. So the Asian countries will be the first choice, and Tamil Nadu and India will going to take these as opportunities. And also I request all these Gopio members and other participants to take the opportunity and explore the possibility of getting this investment, making ties with this, and sourcing regionally based raw material, technology, manpower, etc. to restart your business. And thank you for me on behalf of the chamber. Thank you for Mr. Gunasilan and others, Gopio, to organize this meeting once again. Thank you.